Ichigo awakens by Talacha, chapter 67, Insubordination. Las noches, Ulquiorra guided the twins down the dark halls of the Arrancar Palace to Aizen's throne room, hovering over them protectively while sending the occasional glare to Noritora. Karin kept a brave look on her face while Yuzu was shaking and clearly frightened, but they kept on walking. They finally came into a long, expansive hallway lined with pillars occupied with who they knew to be the enemy. Many different Arrancar were along the walls, with two Shinigami standing in front of a tall stone block that housed a throne at its peak, with the man they suspected to be Sosuke Aizen sitting on it like a king. Welcome, Yuzu and Karin Kurosaki, to our kingdom of Las Noches, Aizen said, keeping that dark, calm smile on his face. You may or may not know who you're going to die when our brother gets here. He was interrupted, raising his eyebrow to who he understood was the more gentle of the twins. Karin looked at her sister in surprise as Yuzu glared defiantly at the man that currently holds their lives in his hands. She then smirked and joined her sister's level of confidence. Yep, when Ichini shows up, this place will be nothing but rumble. Many of the Rancars shifted either from fear or excitement, but Aizen's expression did not change. I'm well aware of how powerful he is, Aizen admitted, but him coming here is exactly what I want. There was a noticeable growl in the darkness behind Aizen as the man in question kept smiling. But you are still my guest here, despite just being bait, so I'll leave you in the care of someone I can trust. Neliel, he called, making a green-haired Rancor step forward. Yes, Lord Aizen. The now-named Neliel had a skull with curved horns, a scar going down her forehead to her nose with a red mark across her face just under her eyes, in a fitting white uniform that covered her whole body. Your mission is now to watch over these two, Aizen said, earning surprise from most everyone in the room. They are of no use to me dead, and Ulquiorra has an appointment with an old friend of his. He turned his gaze to his most loyal subordinate, who seemed to hesitate ever so slightly. I understand, Lord Aizen, he said, looking up to his master as Nadia looked to the twins. I will kill Ichigo Kurosaki in Kurosaki Hospital. The Ryukin was finalizing some last-minute papers. The chaos from the hollow attack finally dying down to let him focus. When he noted that something felt off to him, his papers were in order, his patients were in stable condition. None of the Shinigami were showing up at his hospital, which meant that Oda Human was back from the Soul Society. So what was it that was making him feel uneasy? His answer came from a tapping on the window, revealing Hiyori, who had two unconscious Kurosakis with her. He acted quickly to open his office window and called Kanae to get him a couple of gurneys. What happened? The daughter asked as the visor placed the two on the couches in his office. Himself moving to run a quick examination of Masaki before moving on to Ichigo's body. Aizen used the recent swarm of hollows as a distraction. He already started standing back to let the expert do his work. He sent a rocker to occupy Ishin and the other seated officers, while sending another two to attack the house. They knocked out Masaki, beat the crap out of Ichigo's body, and took the girls. She reported, trying to prepare herself for when she'll have to give the same message to Ishin. What happened to Kon? Ryukin asked, moving to Ichigo's body. Ichigo seems to be fine, but Kon would never. Kon's dead. He already interrupted, holding up another file. Kisuke has been thorough, but Kon was a modified Gikon, and there was only so much he could take. Ryukin took the file as Kane entered with the gurneys as he already helped to move the prone bodies. Inside a human body, enhanced speed, strength, agility, nothing too out of the ordinary. Ryukin thought as he read Kisuke's account for the modification he made to the mod soul. Regeneration in case of heavy damage to the body, warning proportion to damage. So if Ichigo's body was fatally injured, it would take Kon's own life to fix him. Hiyori, where's Kon's pill? He asked, dreading the answer he would be getting. I figured Ichigo's body was stable, so I extracted Kon's pill form, but all I got was dust. She said, star evident. He just finished repairing Ichigo's lungs from the rib fragments. Damn it, the Quincy side before setting aside his emotion to do his job. Right, Kasane, take Ichigo's body to the stasis room without a Giton. He's essentially comatose. I'll be taking Masaki to get a few scans. Make sure nothing's damaged. I should go. Ishin would want the casualty reports. He already said before flying out the window, leaving the Quincy to do their jobs as you can pull Masaki down to radiology. Good luck, Hiyori. That's not going to end well. Royal Palace entrance wall. Ichigo made his way towards the edge of the entrance into the realm of the Spirit King. The royal guard there to see him off, with Uetsu and one other of the Zero Squad missing. Kiryo Hikifune, a real plump woman with purple hair and a large rice spoon, and Senjumaru Shutara, a pale, slender woman with long black hair and multiple long and bony arms with a radiant gold crescent moon ornamented in her hair, both in standard Shinigami garb along with Osho. So, I don't see that big pillar you used to come down to society, Ichigo noted after looking around for a bit. Is there another way for me to get down? Senjumaru stepped forward. Two, actually, she answered as she got closer to the hybrid. We have our own Senkimon, but it can only be opened once a day, and it was already used to send Orihime back to the world of the living. The other way is for you to take the stairs, she said as she tapped a can against the floor and created a long spiral staircase that kept going and going. This route should take about a week if you go at your normal pace. Kyoto said as she pulled out a small package. I made you rice balls for the trip. Of course, there is the 72 natural barriers that separate the palace and Soul Society, which is why the Oken is needed. And Senjumaru continued. The Oken is actually a power infused. It's actually a power infused into our beings when we become members of the Soul Society. I would have an outfit made of the Oken's power ready, but Osho and Uetsu never told us what they were doing, and never let you come to us. I'll need your measurements. So string all your hair is made of oaken fibers. Ichigo interrupted, pointing at the master seamstress Hiyori. Yes, it is. Why? She started asking, feeling a little annoyed before Ichigo disappeared and walked by her, heading for the edge with one of the Zero Squad Hiyori's in hand. I'll find a way to send this back, he said, as a ball of cackling blue energy formed and was growing in the center and 10 feet away from the stairway. With no hesitation, Ichigo dived off the edge, held the oaken cloth in front of him, created a reishi platform at his feet, and called out, Hado 88, Hiryu Gekizoku Shinten Reiho. The energy blasted at Ichigo's feet and shot him down, disappearing from eyesight almost instantly. That brat, Ichibei sighed, almost laughing at the kid's brazen attitude. How does he expect to give me back my Hiyori? I'm sure he'll find a way, Uetsu said, finally showing up with a guy with a hooded pompadour haircut. After all, I never thought anything would be able to damage Sayafushi, he said, thinking back to his fight with Ichigo, his Bankai breaking and then reforming almost instantly before shattering Sayafushi, then cutting him in half. Kid's terrifying enough as he is already. Hard to believe he can still get stronger. Indeed, Osho admitted, thinking about the battles to come. Maybe the next stage of his training shouldn't be in power, but in maturity. Squad 1 meeting hall, 52 confirmed dead, 93 critically injured, and the remaining Soul Reapers either crippled or too exhausted to keep going. Ishin reported from his monitor while Hiyori, Uryu, and Orihime were doing their best to change the numbers. Thankfully, with Orihime back, the injured and a few of the dead will recover, while the rest deal with their exhaustion. All the captains in attendance shifted silently, knowing that Aizen would attack and curious themselves for not sending any more backup, though Nohana did immediately send out a relief unit to help in the relief efforts. That's the situation with the squad, but it was just a distraction from Aizen's real target. He took my daughters as bait to lure Ichigo into Wakamundo. Many of the captains shifted, knowing what was going to happen if and when Ichigo found out that Aizen had his sisters. We cannot let Ichigo learn of this, the Genryu sage finally said. If he does, then he'd walk into whatever trap Aizen has ready for him. I have tremendous faith in the boy, but Aizen is never one to be underestimated. If he does have something to use, to give him an advantage against Ichigo, I'd rather have a backup ready and available to aid him. The commander ordered, just as everyone felt the disturbance in the air that preceded a thunderous boom that shook everything. After that, Ichigo appeared in the Squad 1 meeting hall holding a Zero Squad Hiyori. That was neat, Ichigo said, holding the oaken cloth and heading for his teacher's side. After a couple of steps, he noticed that something was off. There was tension in the air as the captains were looking at the hybrid. Did I miss something? Before anything could be said, Hiyori appeared by Ichigo's side. Captain Ishin, most of the squad is now recovering, but still needs the rest. And Ryuken reports that Ichigo and Masaki are fine. She reported before noticing Ichigo's presence. Ichigo, Con's last words were to tell you, upon my honor as the fourth, your sisters will not be harmed. Ichigo's eyes widened at the meaning of the statement, resonated with him. In that same moment, Hiyori realized that was probably a mistake. I'm going, she said before running off. Ichigo opened a Garganta to the human world, but was immediately tied down. Bakudo 99, Kin, Yamamoto, Unahana, Kisuke, Ikitake, Tessai, and Hachi yelled out, tying the hybrid down with the strongest binding spell as multiple black wraps and iron shafts pinned Ichigo in place. Let me go! He roared, striding against the spell as the Garganta was sealed by Tessai and Hachi. Saraki stepped forward to lift up the hybrid and holding him before Yamamoto. Release me! I have to go. Out of the question, Ichigo. The dragon returned, stern in his tone. You are key to our battle against Aizen, and we cannot afford to lose you now when the battle is soon. He has nothing that can stop me, he growled as the sounds of terror hinted to his mind's breaking. Don't be rash, Ichigo. Think! Yamamoto yelled as Soifon came in and slapped a pair of Sekiseki cuffs on him and concealing his spiritual power. This is an obvious trap by Aizen to lure you away from the battlefield. He may have developed a new spell or technique to stop you, having a Rancor specifically made to be able to kill you. Any of these possibilities makes it too risky to let you blindly rush in. A few more seconds of struggling passed before Ichigo finally relaxed. I'm sorry, Ichigo, but you cannot go. We can send Uryu, but we need you for Aizen. Genryusi looked to Ishin, who nodded and went to deliver the orders to his lieutenant. Zaraki, I take Ichigo to the Mukin prison, and I want 2 captains watching him at all times. Ichigo remained silent, looking into the distance and into the eyes of Sangetsu, who manifested just seconds before Soifon cuffed Ichigo. The blade nodded and disappeared, planning their escape. With Uryu, I want you all ready to move out the second Ichigo shows up, Ishin said as soon as the connection ended. Knowing that his son's friends were watching and knowing they were exposed, they revealed themselves from behind the corner into the room. Except for Lisa and Senna, I do need some help within the squad. I thought the head captain wasn't going to allow Ichigo to go because of this being an obvious trap, Tatsuki said, earning a nod from most of the other teens. And he probably knows Ichigo is going to ignore that in favor of saving his sisters, Ishin answered. But really, any of you would be enough for Ichigo to defy. Any of you would be enough for Ichigo to defy orders and dive head on into enemy territory, going into obvious traps just to ensure with his eyes that you're safe. He turned to face them as their command officer. You are going straight into Hueco the land of the Hollows, and the base of your enemies. Assume you are getting no backup and no aid beyond what you are bringing in with you. Dismiss them. He finished as the assembled teens looked at each other and nodded. And Uryu, the Quincy turned back to the Shinigami. If you could scrounge up some allies, that would be most helpful. Those 3 do seem willing to side with us, but how can we convince them of this kind of open rebellion? Uryu asked. Knowing Ishin meant the Standardists, they've yet to try to publicly help us. I'd say let them know that this operation is strictly off record, and to convince Yobach to allow this. Then let them know it could go a long way to convince you and Ichigo to join his side. He has been trying to get the Shidas and Kurosakis to come to the light for generations, so that might help. Uryu mused as the rest of the teens left to begin their preparations. The Quincy flashed away, aiming for the apartment where the Standardists hid away. Upon reaching the door and knocking, he was greeted by the lime-haired beauty Queen Candice. What is it? She asked / demanded from the bespectacled teen. Ichigo and I need your help, he said, Candice raising an eyebrow before letting him in. The living room was pretty Spartan in decoration, with mostly Quincy symbolism being the only decor. Basby and Bambita were sitting on a couch and chair as Candice took her seat, the heat gesturing for Uryu to start pleading his case. Earlier today, my cousins, twin sisters, Yuzu and Karin, were kidnapped by a Rancor and taken taken to Huecamundo as a ploy by Aizen to get Ichigo into a trap. Basby started idly flicking his wrist, suddenly pointing Uryu to a mirror. The teen looked and saw the white of a Stunner's uniform of the Vandaraka telling him what he needed to know. "You two must be really desperate to come to us, then," Basby said, leaning forward to examine the Quincy separatist. "Considering how much you don't want to get involved with the Vandaraka, this is family." Uryu returned now that he knew they were being watched. I thought that was something important to Quincy. If His Majesty is willing to spare you three, your help would be appreciated, and we'd be willing to hear out Yoruba," he said, turning around to leave. "Urahara Shoten, we don't know when we'll be leaving," he said before exiting. Las Noches with Ulquiorra. The aspect of emptiness made his way through the halls of Las Noches. He swore to protect Ichigo's sisters, but why? What prompted him to say that to the soul inside Ichigo's body? He could have left out the part of protecting them, and that would have been enough to convince the hybrid to come here, but he swore to protect them. Why? If he killed Ichigo, what would happen to the girls? Their parents would likely be enemies in the coming war, which might lead to their deaths. Would Lord Aizen show them mercy, or would he try to recreate Ichigo with them? How would he protect them when this is all done? Would he even be able to fight Ichigo? He knew the hybrid was powerful, but it has been so long since they got a measure of his strength. Could he fight Ichigo? He shook his head to dispel such thoughts. He swore to kill him, swore to his master, and the man who gave him everything, his own voice, his sense of hearing, smell, and taste. Ichigo and he were on opposite sides. They were destined to fight. Besides, it would be moot if he would be able to protect twins if Ichigo was capable of defeating him. Silburn, Yobach's throne room. "That's the situation, Your Majesty." Jugram informed the Quincy King, telling him what Uryu told the spine stenotyst. "What are your commands?" The Almighty thought about it, looking down at his hand. There was a strange sensation that he had lost his connection to several of his children, and had a pretty good guess on whom he was severed from, and whose idea it was, but not the how. "They may aid their wayward brothers in the attack to save their sisters," Yobach said, the Stonator Grandmaster bowing in acknowledgement. "But should the chance come, I want Yuzu and Karin to be brought before me. Then I will remind them of their one true father." "As you wish," has Walter said as he left the chamber, finding Basby standing next to the throne room. "You have your orders. See to it that you do not fail, lest you face His Majesty's punishment. I'm sure he'll understand if I can find an opportunity," the Heat said as he pushed off the wall, making his way to the portal back to the living world. "I doubt Ichigo and Uryu are willing to leave the girls unguarded. I got to find a way to let them know that." Basby planned as he made his way to the others to let them know to gear up. With Ichigo, "Again, really sorry about this, Ichigo," Kyoraku said, Toshiro standing across from him. But old man Yama does have a point." Ichigo laid silently on the ground, held fast with layers of one of the strongest binding Kido, and powers cancelled because of the Seki handcuffs. The hybrid refused to say anything to anyone, just laying there in the endless expanse of the Mukon in prison. Time passed as the elevator opened, signaling the changing of guard shifts. The doors opened to reveal Soifun and Komamura and Komamura, both unconscious. "What the?" Hitsugaya whispered as he as he walked towards the elevator, and Kyoraku shifted his stance slightly. Suddenly, the two were pulled into the elevator by their necks, with a white-clad figure jumping out of the confined space. The second the two captains landed inside the elevator, the door shut, and the chamber began to ascend out of the prison. "It took you long enough," Ichigo said as Sangetsu rose to his full height, holding a Hiyori in his hand. "I assume you wanted this before we left," the hybrid blade said as he cut the Kido spell, holding his master down. Ichigo leaped to his feet and held his bound hands forward, letting Zangetsu cut off the trapped appendages. With a grunt of pain, Ichigo regenerated his hands and quickly activated Akarkanta. Already sensing that the rest of the captains were mobilizing, Ichigo took the royal guard Hiyori as Zangetsu dematerialized into his master and jumped through the tear in space. He formed his Reishi path as he slid through the infinite expanse of the precipice world. His brotherly instinct demanding that he head one way, while the more reasonable part of him guided him to the living world to gather his allies. Squad 15 barracks. It was deep into the night, and the rescue team assembled outside of the Urahara Shoten. The three stone ritter were dressed in the military garb, still slightly on edge about being near enemy territory. Uryu had his squad uniform on, which was basically a Quincy outfit with black on it, and using his lieutenant's badge as a clasp for escape. Orihime was wearing a similar outfit to when they attacked the Soul Society, but with a belt that held several pouches for exorcism tags and a long katana on her hip. Chad was wearing a dark long sleeve shirt with a rose emblazonment on the left sleeve, with his medallion proudly on display. Tatsuki was wearing her own version of Yoruichi's black suit with deep cleavage and red cloth wrapped on her arms and shins as a belt. They stood in that spot, waiting until a tearing space opened up to reveal Ichigo carrying a Hiyori. Alright, listen up, Ichigo said, taking command of the group. We are heading directly into enemy territory. Assume everything in there is trying to kill you. I don't care whether you kill them or not, but know this, our main objective is to recover Yuzo and Karin. Breaking Aizen's army is just the bonus. Everyone ready? He asked just as the Senkamon appeared, revealing Rukia. I am now, she responded, everyone else getting a confident smirk and nodding. Ichigo turned, flicking his wrist, opening the new garganta and slipping on Ichibi's Hiyori. Let's tear shit up, the hybrid said as the group dove through the portal and began to make their way into Wakamundo. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers. Babysitting. Aizen had Neliel take the twins because out of all of his Rancor, she would be the closest to keeping them happy and pacified. Aizen needed the bait in good condition to keep Ichigo in Las Noches. They're Yuzu. They're staying away. It's okay. Neliel was saying to a crying Yuzu as Karin beat the ever living crap out of her Frasion for scaring her sister by popping out of nowhere as soon as they got to Neliel's castle. Maybe Aizen should have had Halle Bell watch the twins. Rukia's departure. Brother, please, I have to help them. Rukia pleaded with Byakuya standing in front of the Kuchiki Senkimon. They're our family too. I'm well aware, Rukia, but you would help him more by joining the captains and keeping him in the Muken until the war. Byakuya stated, hoping that Rukia's presence would calm down Ichigo. Those thoughts died when alarms started blaring, specifically set up for if Ichigo escaped. Never mind, go. The noble groaned, rubbing his forehead in pain, while Rukia ran through the doorway between dimensions. What happened with Tsukishima? The Fullbringer laid on the couch in an isolated room inside the Shoten. It was dark, silent, and he was groaning in pain with an open bottle of painkillers on the floor. Ginjo stepped in, keeping his footsteps silent as he made his way to his old friends. Hey man, how you doing? He whispered, keeping as silent as possible. I rewrote the blood memory of the other 6 Quincy that are our allies. The book reader groaned silently. Learned that I shouldn't have even done the first one when my brain started hemorrhaging from the strain. It died as my brain popped like a watermelon, and I'm only alive because Orihime can hack death, which still leaves me with this skull-splitting hangover. And Ginjo said nothing as he got up and left. A hangover would hurt less in retrospect. End of chapter 67.